Hey y'all, so I have an announcement. I officially started the Wheel of Time series, and I'm going to do something a little bit different on this channel than I have in the past, and that is I'm going to have weekly reading journals basically of my journey through the Wheel of Time. We're reading about a book a month, so roughly a quarter for each week that I have a video is going to cover a quarter of a book. And so I've read the first quarter of Eye of the World, which is the first book in Wheel of Time, and it has been a great experience so far. I have joined a book club on Discord, which I will link the invite down below. There are a lot of new readers, and there's also readers that have read the book several times and are there to enjoy the ride along with us or enjoy a reread, and everyone is welcome. It is a great community, and it has made the experience a lot better and a lot more enjoyable, in my opinion anyway. We're also listening to the Wheel Weaves podcast, which I'll also link down below for you. It's a great podcast. It has no spoilers because Danny, I believe her name is, she is a first-time reader as well, so they're going along chapter by chapter, and she's talking as the chapter is, and then her co-host Brett is the experienced reader, and so he can kind of help guide the conversation and pick up on things, and I really enjoy it. It's a great dynamic. I laugh a lot while I'm listening to it, and it helps me remember what I've read. I am listening to the audio at the same time as I'm physically reading it, so I'm following along to help me retain what I'm reading even more than what I normally do. And then I go and I talk on Discord to the book club, and it has been a great experience. I absolutely love it. And I almost wish every book was like this, but it would be a lot. It would be a lot. This is a series that you definitely want to take the extra time and those extra discussions and really just immerse yourself in the world. It's worth it. So just a warning, these videos are going to be full of spoilers. If you're looking for a why you should read Wheel of Time, Mike's Book Reviews has great videos on that very subject, is why you should read it without spoilers. There's so many videos out there talking about why you should read it that don't go into spoilers. That's not what this is about. This is going to be like a journal type thing where I can talk about spoilers and really get into it and hopefully create a discussion down in the comment section or in Discord as well about the Wheel of Time. So it's going to be full of spoilers. Here's your warning. So I've got a lot of notes, so you'll see me looking at my notes. I've got just note cards, several note cards here of notes. So let's just kind of dive right into it. We'll talk about the prologue, because the prologue is just packed full of hidden meanings and clues and things that you want to memorize that I just can't. I've tried to take some notes as far as what magic they're talking about, people, things like that. And the prologue is interesting because it's very beautifully written and it's meant to draw you in, but it explains nothing. You get hints and tips, and it's one of those things where it gives you so many little clues and breadcrumbs that this is going to be a prologue that I'm going to need to go back and reread a lot, because I'm sure that as I read the series, more and more of that prologue is going to make more sense. I will say, and I feel like people have talked about this a lot, but the moment that, and it's different when you're reading it, like I've heard people talk about this before whenever I didn't really plan on reading the series, so it's kind of a spoiler, but when you read it, it's very different and much more impactful, because Lews Therin is calling out for his love, and just the way Robert Jordan writes that scene of him calling out to her and him describing her body and how it jostles in, the quaking of the castle. And you realize as a reader that Lews Therin, who is calling out for his love, clearly doesn't see her and doesn't recognize her as who he's calling out for. It's very emotional for a prologue. It got me. Like it was written so well. That was my first experience with The Wheel of Time, is just being, blown away by how the writing was. Him just giving you these clues and tips to paint this picture that he didn't have to come out and say. He didn't realize that who he was calling out for was dead on the ground. And I really appreciated that. Very well done. And I expect that the rest of the series is going to be very similar, so I'm excited. When you get through the first few chapters, not a whole lot is done or happens, but you get a lot of ground laying, a lot of foundation work that I really appreciate. So you get these cozy little town vibes. You get a feeling for how the people of Two Rivers are as a people, as a group, and you can tell they're very sturdy, they're persistent, they're proud, they're hardworking, and I like that feeling. Like, they make comments of, well, if the light wills, you know, but even if it doesn't, we're still going to keep fighting. I just really like that attitude of the people as a whole. It was very wholesome, and it kind of makes you want to live in like a tiny little village and just, you know, have that perseverance. It was very awesome. There's a lot of people in the town, and I kind of can tell who is who. I'm really bad with names, and I know there's so many names in here. I know that Sinbui, I believe was his name. He likes to complain a lot. But we meet, you know, Rand, and it's from his point of view right now. We meet Matt and Perrin, who are his close friends, and they're getting ready for Beltane, and it's just a good time. You're expecting things to go well, because that's what the characters do. I mean, you as a reader, like, I know that Beltane is going to be terrible because Rand said that it was going to be the best Beltane ever, so it's obviously going to go wrong, right? But, you know, you can tell that Rand has feelings for Egwene, and I kind of like Egwene. She's a little sassy. Like I said, she's very young, and so she just likes to get praise and compliments, and she wants Rand to give them to her. So I kind of like the dynamic of Rand and Egwene, because Egwene obviously has expectations of her and Rand, and poor Rand is so young and doesn't really pick up on these clues from Egwene, and it's really cute to see them interacting together as young love and kind of, you know, two people that are interested in each other and kind of have this plan of that's probably who they're going to end up with. They're in this little town, and you know, she's got big dreams, and he doesn't yet. So it's very cute to see their interactions. When the peddler comes, he kind of cracks me up too. I think his name is Tom, and he just likes all the attention, so he doesn't like when people take the attention off of him, but he's the one that compliments Egwene, if I'm not mistaken, and she gets excited that he's got a compliment and gives Rand dirty looks, and I just found it amusing and cute. So the other thing that you can kind of tell from the way things are written is that prophecies are very important in this world. They put a lot of stock in them, they believe in them, and so I feel like that gives prophecies power. The thing about prophecies, I will say this is a personal pet peeve of mine. I generally do not like when I read a prophecy at the beginning of a book or a chapter and I have no context to put that with. So I read the prologue, and it's, like I said, filled with good versus evil, all these hints of things, the dragon. And so from the prologue, you can tell, you know, Luz Theron and Ellen Morin have been fighting for thousands of years, even though Luz obviously doesn't remember it. So you get a lot of that hint that big things are happening, grandiose things are happening in their world right now. And then it's followed by a page of prophecy, and I don't want to say I skipped it. I didn't skip it, I did read it, but my brain just retained nothing because it means nothing right now. So I kind of, as a pet peeve of my own, I don't care for that, because with the prologue it felt different because it's still laying groundwork. You're getting these hints of, okay, this is what this means, where the prophecies are literally just saying things that mean nothing, and I can't make any context out of them. So that's a pet peeve of mine. I know this. I do look forward into coming back and rereading the prophecies from time to time to see kind of what I've been able to learn in the meantime and see if I can get more information out of them. So I'm okay with that. I don't mind having to come back and reread it, but that is just something that I typically don't enjoy in a book. But this is a different type of series. It's a different type of series to take on and read. So, and I come into that expecting it, so I don't mind it. It's okay. So there's a lot to the magic system with the Sadine and Sidar, male and female, tainted and not tainted, and it's really interesting. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that's going to play out into how the world is shaped around that concept and that knowledge. So you can already tell that the people of Two Rivers, they don't really trust Aes Sedai, the magic users, the women. They don't trust them. You can just tell that there's some prejudice against them from Rand, from what other villagers are saying, as Moraine is there. So it's a really good example of world building. Sometimes you can tell that there's a world that's being built and then there's a magic system on top of it, and it doesn't really seep into the world and how the world is shaped around this magic. So I really liked seeing how there's already, I don't want to say already, thousands of years have passed, but there's prejudices that are really just ingrained in these people, to where even Rand, after Moraine saves his father, after Moraine basically saves him from the Drakkar on their way to Tar Valon, on their way to that place, the Aes Sedai headquarters. So basically, she's helped them on his way, she's got him to safety, and he is still slightly prejudiced against her. So it's really nice to see that he's trying to overcome these prejudices. He knows that he shouldn't really feel that way, or he has like a feeling that he shouldn't, but he can't help it. And I like that it's not just a 180 of, oh, well, I've grown up hearing how terrible these women are and evil, and now, oh, well, she saved my dad, so they're okay. I like that there's some turmoil to him changing his mind, and I feel like that he will eventually outgrow that, but I'm interested to see how long it takes him. I like that, because prejudice just doesn't get erased overnight, and I feel like that, Rand is going to have to do the work. Another example of the magic really leaching into their way of life as a whole is, even though there's not a lot of magic users, or any, honestly, really, in Two Rivers, you can tell that male versus female is still very deeply rooted in their psyche. So you can tell that because women in the town don't like the fact that Tom and Rand are both single. They think women need to take care of them. There's very strict, at least in Two Rivers, because that's where I'm at now. Other places may be different, but at least in Two Rivers, there's very clear gender roles. So, and I feel like that stems from men use this type of magic, women use this type of magic. It's very split in their magic system. It's very clear in their world that it's men versus women in a lot of aspects. So you have the village council, but then there's also the women's circle. And they both talk about, well, the women's circle will need to take care of this. Well, the village council is going to have to take care of that, when really they just need to talk together. But you can tell that these gender roles are very deeply rooted in their way of life. So it's going to be interesting to see how these gender roles change depending on where we are in the world, and if they change. Because I'm sure there's going to be some changes in the way people think depending on where they are. So when we're in chapter 4, I get the feeling that Tam is very wise. He says very wise things. He helps Rand with being nervous about talking to Egwene. They were doing that on the way to the town, and I think that was a really touching moment. And I just feel like Tam is really wise beyond his years, and I feel like there's going to be more to him than meets the eye. And at this point, when he's telling Rand, we need to get back to the farm, we need to check on it, I am convinced at this point that the farm is going to be destroyed when they get back. So when we get back to the farm and everything is fine, I am lured into a false sense of security, because now I'm expecting things to be just terrible and everything to start happening and just life crumbling down around our characters. I expect that to happen at Beltane, when everybody is out celebrating, but I was wrong. So it was, being wrong that many times in a row is pretty interesting, not unusual for me, but I liked it. It definitely kept me on my toes. Right before the Trollocs attack and Tam goes and gets his sword, I have an aha moment, because I knew there was more to Tam than meets the eye, and I bet he didn't just buy that for a couple of silver pennies or whatever it was he called. I feel like that's his sword and he's earned it, so I'm interested to see where that takes us. Rand accidentally killing the Trolloc was pretty cool. I liked that. Rand he's not very sure of himself. He's very nervous and he just doesn't have a lot of confidence. And so I know that he's a main character throughout the series, so I'm really looking forward to seeing his character arc and seeing how his lack of confidence changes, whether it gets worse or it gets better, because the poor guy just has no confidence as it is right now, and he's very hard on himself. You know, for even having normal emotions, he kind of chastises himself for having these emotions when he should be worried about more important things right now, depending on what's happening. So I feel like that's really endearing for Rand, and I hope that he can just get this confidence that he sorely needs, because he's better than he thinks he is. So when Rand is having to drag Tam back to town, I feel like this is another one of those moments where Rand really shines, because he truly doesn't, like, he just doesn't have any belief in himself, and he keeps saying, you know, I can't do this, I can't get him there, I can't get him there, but he still pushes through and perseveres. That good Two Rivers thought process there, and he does it. I feel like that's admirable. He just pushes through and he figures it out and he does it. When the town is destroyed, because I kind of thought, you know, maybe that his farm was attacked and that would be it, but I didn't put two and two together that the Trollocs came from the way town was. So when he gets there, because I was kind of wrapped up in Rand, as soon as I get to town, he'll be better. I'll get to town and he'll be better. And I kind of got wrapped up in that. And just from the way it was written, town's half destroyed basically. So, but he still manages to get help for Tam, and I hate that they had to leave. So Rand's time in town is pretty interesting. You get to learn, you get to see a lot more of Matt and Perrin. Their characters are pretty funny, because Matt's, you know, he's obviously the lighthearted, more cheerful one, kind of a trickster. Perrin is obviously the reasonable one. He's the one that has the level-headed thinking. But I feel like I can tell who's going to be going on this adventure, because you know that we're leaving. We're obviously going to be leaving Two Rivers, and that's just going to be the way it is. Moraine and Lan, they kind of remind me of like grumpy parents, good cop, bad cop kind of thing. I really like their dynamic, and I kind of wonder if she can read Lan's mind, because sometimes she'll answer questions that Rand doesn't hear. So either Rand just only pays attention to Moraine because he only hears her speaking, or she's answering questions that haven't been spoken out loud from Lan. So it could be either way. I'm interested to find out. When the group starts getting ready to leave, Rand has already had his dream or vision. I also, I guess I should mention, I don't like when dreams or visions are written into books. I don't. That may be an unpopular opinion, but I do not like that writing mechanism. I feel like it's a tool for relaying information to the reader, because you're doing, like, say, third person limited in the situation that you want the reader to know, but you don't necessarily want the character to know or fully understand, and I just don't like it. I don't like dream sequences. I don't like visions. So I'm a little nervous about how often that's going to happen in these books, because it is a big pet peeve of mine. But it's okay. We're going to go with it. I have a feeling it's probably because some god is talking to Rand or something like that. So it's okay. We'll push past it and not worry about it. So later, after Rand and Tam speak, Rand doesn't bring up the fact that Tam told him, or said, that he wasn't his real father when he was having his fever dreams on their way to the village. So that kind of makes me curious. I don't think Tam is Rand's real father, but I wonder who is going to turn out to be his father in the end. Kind of nervous about who it's going to end up being, but we'll see. I don't have any predictions for that, but we'll get there. When Egwene kind of forces herself into the group by just saying, hey, I'm coming with you, that was quite annoying. I don't like when people do that in real life, of just forcing themselves on your company when obviously people don't want you there. If that were me and I was trying to say, hey, I'm going to come with you, but I can tell that no one wants me around, I'm not going to go. That just seems like a lot of self-torture that I don't have what's a good word for it? Self-confidence, the personality armor. I don't know how to word it, but I wouldn't be able to emotionally withstand being around people that obviously don't want me there. So she kind of annoyed me and rubbed me the wrong way. But when Rand kind of talks to her just one-on-one and she says that we'll take care of each other, I thought that was a sweet moment, and it kind of softened me on Egwene a lot. And I just kind of realized that she's so pushy because she feels truly, which she's already talked to Rand about this and he shut her down, or didn't take her seriously, I should say. But she feels like she's destined for much more than just this little town of 2 rivers. She's destined for more things. She wants to become a wisdom, and Rand just kind of tosses it aside, saying, you know, why would you want to leave? I'm going to be here, and just kind of doesn't realize what her dreams are. She feels bigger than 2 rivers. She feels like she has a big destiny. And, you know, if you feel that way and the only way to get out of this little 2-horse town is pushing yourself on people that don't want you there, who am I to blame her? You know, she's obviously wanting to get out of here and wants adventure. So I kind of softened up on Egwene quite a bit. And I hope she gets what she's looking for out here and not death. I don't want her to die. I'm already kind of attached to Egwene. I feel like that's a mistake. I shouldn't. She's probably gonna die now. God. So the group leaves, and there's still a lot of things happening. Moraine uses a lot of magic to help them escape from the Drakkar and the Fade. The Midriel, I think is how you pronounce it. She's using a lot of these great powers to get them through. And Lan is pretty awesome. He's, you know, always on watch, and he's gonna take care of these kids. And he has some pretty wise words to say as well. Sometimes one of my favorites was, "You're talking when you should be listening." I love that line because I used to say that to my Girl Scouts all the time when I was a troop leader. So it was a good line. I enjoyed that just because I say it myself. But the trip has been pretty eventful. Moraine destroying the raft kind of made me sad. But I understand, because if the raft has disappeared, then, you know, maybe the Fade and the Drakkar tracking them would think they took the raft down the river rather than the path that they chose. And she did, you know, her and Lan did give them money to buy a new one or build a new one, so that does make it better. It was actually pretty smart on Moraine's behalf. So we just got to the new town of Everland. That's where I left off. So we learned that the Children of the Light are there, and they are very anti-magic. It kind of reminds me of what is it called? The Circle, I think, from Dragon Age, where you take, like, the magic users go there and, like, their emotions are taken from them. What are they called? But they have the knights, and they go out, and if the magic user won't come back to the group of magicians where they remove parts of your brain, basically, then they just kill you, because magic users have to be controlled. That's what it reminds me of, the Children of the Light. So I'm interested to see how that part plays out and how much danger we get into in Everland. You do see a little bit of resentment coming out in Rand during this last chapter, Choices. I got to chapter 13. You see a little bit of resentment coming out in Rand against Moraine, because he feels like Moraine has taken all of these choices from him. She's making all of the choices for him, and he's starting to feel some resentment. So I'm interested to see how that plays out for the rest of the book. So that is week 1, quarter 1, basically, of Eye of the World. I am going to start some more reading today into to get up to the halfway point, and next week I'll have another update for this Wheel of Time reading journal. I feel like today I was a little bit rambly. I'm going to do better about organizing notes as I go. It was just a lot to take in, so I kind of kept bouncing around in my ideas when I'm talking, and I'm sorry. So I'll get tightened up a little bit as we go. But week 1 is down, quarter 1 down of 15 books, 14? I think it's 15 with the prequel, but I'm glad that I started this. So be on the lookout for week 2 of my journey through the Wheel of Time. Y'all take care.